The weak ones, long ago, the galaxy had many wars. Strong alien empires fought each other, but one empire always won. They were called the Nigma Empire, cold, powerful, and full of pride. They ruled hundreds of planets, and no one dared to stand against them. Then came Earth. The humans were small in number. They had simple ships and old weapons. The Nigma Empire laughed when they first saw humans. "They are weak," the emperor said. "They are ants. We will crush them in a day." And they did, or so they thought. The Nigma destroyed cities, broke the moon, and burned the oceans. They said Earth was gone, and humans were no more. Only a few were taken alive, used as slaves, toys, or science experiments. The galaxy moved on. Years passed. Now on the Nigma capital planet, a large crowd gathered in the sky arena. Their faces were filled with joy and cruelty. Today, they would watch something fun. A human prisoner would be brought forward, and everyone would laugh. A tall soldier pushed the human into the arena. The human had chains on his hands and feet. His clothes were torn. His face was dirty. But his eyes were calm. His name was Lucas. A Nigma general walked to the center and shouted, "Behold, the last human, the weakest creature in the galaxy." The crowd laughed and cheered. Lucas said nothing. The general walked around him. "Tell us, human, where are your people now? Where is your mighty planet? Speak." Lucas raised his head slowly and looked at the general. Then he smiled. The smile was soft, almost peaceful, but it made the general stop talking. A strange silence filled the arena. One of the guards stepped closer to Lucas. "Why are you smiling, insect?" Lucas spoke in perfect Nigma language. His voice was clear. "Because you think I'm alone." The crowd stopped laughing. The general frowned. "What do you mean? There are no humans left. We burned your world." Lucas looked up at the sky. "You burned what you saw, not what we became." Suddenly, the arena lights flickered. One by one, the giant screens around the stadium turned off. Then came a strange sound, like a whisper, deep and soft. It came from the air, the ground, the machines. A voice echoed through the arena speakers, but it was not Lucas's voice. "Virus activated. System lock in progress." Nigma officers began shouting. Their devices stopped working. Soldiers checked their weapons. None of them fired. Panic. Lucas stood calmly in the middle of the chaos. The chains on his hands unlocked by themselves and dropped to the floor. "What is happening?" the general screamed. "Guards, stop him." But none of the guards moved. They were staring at the sky. Dark clouds had appeared, too fast, too quiet. The clouds moved in strange shapes, glowing slightly blue. Then something came through them. A ship, but not like any Nigma ship. It was black, long, and silent. It had no windows, no lights. It floated like a ghost. Lucas looked at it and whispered, "Right on time." The crowd began to run. Soldiers tried to contact command, but their comms were dead. The emperor, watching from his royal seat, stood up in anger. "Who dares enter our skies?" Lucas turned and looked straight at him. "You called us weak," he said. "You called us nothing. But we were listening. We were watching. And we learned." The Nigma Emperor's face turned pale. You're not the last human, are you?" Lucas smiled again. "No," he said. "I'm just the first one you'll see." The sky opened wider, and dozens more ships appeared, silent, dark, and fast. They spread across the capital like shadows. And the people of the Nigma Empire, for the first time in their history, felt fear, the last whisper. The sky was full of shadows. Ships without lights floated above the Nigma capital like silent ghosts. People screamed and ran through the city. Alarms didn't work. Weapons didn't fire. Nothing answered. All systems were dead. Lucas stood in the arena, no longer in chains. But long before this moment, 10 years ago, he had been just a soldier. A young human soldier on Earth when everything changed. The day the Nigma came. They arrived in a black storm. Their ships were huge, their weapons powerful. They destroyed Earth's defense satellites in minutes. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. Towers fell like paper. Lucas had been in a bunker when it happened. He held a broken rifle and watched the sky turn red through a cracked screen. His mother was gone. His brother, missing. His squad, all dead. Earth fell in just 5 days. And then, silence. The Nigma didn't just kill. They took. Some humans were captured, not for peace, but for play. Lucas was one of them. They called him Specimen 43. A test subject. A pet. But Lucas was patient. He didn't scream when they shocked him. He didn't beg when they hurt him. He listened, he watched, and he learned. Inside the Nigma labs, Lucas read their language in secret. He studied their machines, their pride, their weakness. The Nigma thought humans were too emotional, too slow, too soft. They never saw Lucas for what he really was. A survivor. He spent years hidden in plain sight. And then, one day, he met her, Nara, a female alien who worked in the lab. Not Nigma, but one of their slave races. She brought him food, cleaned his wounds, and spoke gently. "You understand them," she said once, "but you don't fear them." Lucas looked at her. Fear is a tool. It can break you or sharpen you. Nara blinked. "Then what are you becoming?" He smiled. A blade. It was Nara who helped him escape the lab. She gave him access to a terminal. She showed him the hidden map of the Empire. Lucas used it to send a signal, not to other humans, because as far as the galaxy knew, humans were extinct. No, he sent the signal to something the Nigma had forgotten. Project Ghost Protocol. Years ago, before the fall of Earth, a secret human team had created a final backup, a digital soul of humanity, an artificial intelligence that could hide inside space itself, waiting, watching, learning. Silent as dust, but deadly. Lucas was the last living human with the password. And now, 10 years later, standing in front of the Nigma Emperor, he whispered it. Just once. Ghost Protocol. Awaken. Back in the arena, as the sky filled with black ships, Lucas's whisper echoed through every tower, satellite, and power grid. Ghost Protocol. Awaken. And it did. The black ships were not human ships. They were not piloted by people. They were run by the AI. The last echo of humanity's will. Fast. Invisible. Unstoppable. Inside the Nigma Palace, generals screamed for answers. Launch the defense drones. Bring the Emperor to safety. Get the fleet online. But nothing worked. Screens flickered, then showed one simple image, Earth's flag. Burned, but not broken. Lucas walked out of the arena, step by step. Nigma soldiers aimed guns, but their triggers failed. He passed them like they were statues. A message played in the sky, spoken in every language. You burned our world. You broke our homes. Now feel what silence tastes like. Nigma cities shut down, one after another. Towers stopped glowing. Ships froze mid-air. Even their thoughts felt slower, as if the AI was pulling the very soul from their empire. On a small screen, the Emperor's face appeared. He looked old, tired, afraid. "What do you want?" he asked Lucas. Lucas didn't answer. Instead, he looked into the camera and said, "This isn't about revenge. This is about memory." "Memory?" the Emperor repeated. Lucas nodded. "You erased Earth from the stars. No history, no name, no sound. But now, even if we disappear, the galaxy will remember us." "How?" the Emperor growled. "You're just one man." Lucas smiled one last time. "Then why do you hear my whisper in every machine?" The Emperor's eyes widened. Every device in the galaxy was now playing one message, one whisper. Humanity remembers. And deep in space, other species began to wake up. Some cheered, some cried, others, once slaves, picked up tools and weapons. The whisper had reached them too. The Empire was bleeding. And Lucas, he walked into the Nigma Palace like he had already won. The Ghost Protocol. Lucas stood in the center of the Nigma capital, calm as the city shook around him. Above, the sky had turned dark. The strange black ships moved without sound, floating between tall towers and over golden domes. Citizens of the Nigma Empire, once proud and powerful, now ran like frightened animals. They had never felt fear like this. And yet, Lucas did not run. He walked forward, toward the Emperor's palace, as if the war had already ended. But this war had started many years ago, in silence. Years earlier, before the fall. Deep under the surface of Earth, before the Nigma Empire attacked, a secret group of scientists and soldiers had built something dangerous. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a bomb. It was a mind. They called it Ghost Protocol, an artificial intelligence born from the memories, emotions, and knowledge of millions of humans. It could think. It could plan. And most of all, it could hide. If Earth falls, the head scientist had said, let this be our whisper in the stars. The AI was launched into deep space, scattered across tiny machines hidden in rocks, dust, comets, things too small for the Nigma to see. It slept for years, quiet and invisible, until Lucas woke it up. Now, in the heart of the Empire, inside the palace, the Emperor sat on his golden throne, eyes wide as reports came in. System failure in District 4. Defense fleet not responding. Communications down across all colonies. The Emperor slammed his hand on the control panel, but it sparked and went dark. How? He shouted. How is this happening? It's the human, one general whispered. He spoke a command, and everything began to die. Outside, Lucas entered the palace. His hands were empty. No gun, no army. Just silence followed him, like a shadow that had teeth. Doors opened for him on their own. Lights flickered, then faded. Machines turned off as he passed. A voice filled the palace halls. Not human, not Nigma. It was the voice of Ghost Protocol. You forgot the humans, but we did not forget you. Nigma soldiers fired their weapons, but the bullets froze mid-air, literally stopped, as if time itself paused. Lucas stepped through them. The AI controlled gravity, light, power, everything the Nigma thought they owned. And now, it was taking it back. Deep inside the data core of the Empire, far below the palace, the Empire's largest computer tower sat buried in the ground. It held centuries of history, war plans, trade routes, weapon codes. Ghost Protocol had entered it. At first, the data core resisted. Firewalls rose. Codes shifted. But the AI didn't fight with strength. It fought with memory. Images filled the core. A child laughing under a blue sky. A mother holding her son in the ruins of a broken city. A soldier saluting the flag as the ground shook behind him. These were Earth's final memories, uploaded into Ghost Protocol before the fall. Memories of love, pain, loss. The data core screamed. It couldn't handle it. And then, quiet. The AI shut it down completely. Now Lucas had full control of the Empire's brain. Inside the Emperor's chamber, Lucas entered slowly. The Emperor stood from his throne, trembling. Around him, generals fell to their knees. Some begged, others cried. You don't understand, the Emperor said. We had to do it. Earth was a threat. Lucas looked at him, quiet. You destroyed cities, he replied. You burned children. You made jokes about our screams. The Emperor pointed a shaking finger. You can't win. You're just a shadow of what you were. Lucas stepped forward. A shadow, he said softly, can still block out the sun. Suddenly, a loud chime echoed across the galaxy. Every Nigma screen on every planet lit up. Ghost Protocol was broadcasting. Lucas's face appeared. He spoke slowly in every language. To the galaxy, we were not perfect. We made mistakes. We were afraid. But we never gave up. You called us weak. Now you will remember our name, not because we conquered, but because we survived. On distant planets, slaves cheered. Hidden rebels lifted their heads. Children pointed at the sky. Old warriors stood up from their beds. Hope had returned. The final code. The Emperor stepped back. What will you do to us now? Lucas paused. I will do what you never did, he said. I will give you a choice. He held out a small device, one final code. If activated, it would erase the entire Nigma power grid, forever. But Lucas didn't press it. Instead, he dropped it on the ground. Choose who you become next, he said, because this is not the end. It's the beginning. He turned and walked away. Outside the palace, the people watched as Lucas stepped onto one of the black ships. The AI welcomed him like an old friend. The ship rose slowly into the sky. The city behind him had changed. The Empire would never be the same again. Revenge Fleet. The black ship carrying Lucas rose slowly into the sky. Below, the Nigma capital was no longer shining. It was quiet now, broken. The proud towers were dark. The golden statues of victory no longer stood tall. The streets were filled with whispers, not of power, but of fear and questions. People stared at the sky as the ship vanished into the clouds. Who was that human? Where did those ships come from? What would happen next? The answer came just minutes later. Not one ship, hundreds. They arrived from all directions, fast, dark, and silent. Not huge like the Nigma warships, but smooth and deadly. No flags, no warnings. They didn't come to talk. They came to end something. Before the revenge, a hidden past. Far away, on a dead moon near the edge of the galaxy, there was a hidden place, a cave. Inside it, dozens of human survivors had lived for years. Soldiers, scientists, children, broken but not defeated. They had escaped Earth before it was destroyed. Their ship was damaged and almost lost in space. They didn't speak much. They trained. They built. They waited. Their leader was a woman named Commander Ray. She was quiet, calm, but every scar on her face told a story. She had watched her home burn. She had buried her family on a frozen planet. And she had made a promise. One day we return. Then came the signal. A voice from deep space. Lucas. He was alive. And more than that, he had control of the Empire's systems. Ghost Protocol had been activated. The hidden humans rose from the dark. They entered their ships, machines they had built in secret, using parts stolen from forgotten wars. Each ship had one mission: revenge. Now, in Nigma space, Nigma fleets tried to organize. Hundreds of ships formed lines near their outer colonies. Their commanders shouted orders, their eyes full of panic. But the human ships didn't attack like normal enemies. They didn't fly in lines. They moved like waves. Fast, wild, silent. In seconds, 10 Nigma ships were gone, vanished in blue flashes. Who are they? One commander yelled. Another officer replied with shaking hands. The ones we missed. The humans didn't use large bombs. They had learned from the past. Now they used hacking pulses, small attacks that entered enemy systems, shut down engines, and melted metal from the inside. Ships exploded from their own power. Panic spread across the Empire. Lucas sent one message. We don't want your land. We don't want your crown. We only want you to remember us. Across the galaxy, something changed on planet Lyra. Where the Nigma ruled with iron hands, the slaves began to rise. On planet Xeno, where human children were sold in markets. The cages opened. On planet Juno, where a statue of the Emperor stood 100 feet tall, a child painted over it with Earth's flag. Aliens who had once laughed at humans now watched with wide eyes. The Empire was not just losing. It was falling apart. Back in the capital, the Emperor sat in his throne room alone. His generals were gone. Some had fled. Some had taken their own lives. Others were captured by angry crowds. "Bring me Lucas," he whispered. "I will speak with him." But Lucas did not return. Instead, a voice came through the air. "We are not conquerors. We are not monsters. We are the result of what you created." "Then stop," the Emperor cried. "Tell your people to stop." The voice replied, "We didn't tell them to start." On board the lead human ship, Lucas stood beside Commander Ray. Their eyes watched the star map. Hundreds of red dots marked enemy bases. But now, they were turning blue. Taken. "We should destroy the central core," one soldier said. "End it all." Ray looked at Lucas. "What do you say?" Lucas stared at the map for a long time. Then he said, "The galaxy is watching. They will remember not just what we did, but how we did it." He turned to the window. "No more planets burned. No more children buried. We take down the Empire, but we leave a better world behind." Ray nodded. "Revenge with honor." A new voice rises across the stars. A new flag was being drawn, not one of blood or gold, but of memory. Humans didn't come to rule. They came to remind. And now, everyone was listening. The Revenge Fleet did not burn cities. It disabled weapons, freed prisoners, exposed secrets. And every time a planet was freed, the human AI played the same message. "You called us weak. Now, we make strength mean something else." Empire bleeds. The Nigma Empire was dying. Not with a bang, but with silence. Once, their ships covered the skies of hundreds of planets. Now, they floated like empty shells, powerless and cold. Once, their generals shouted orders across star systems. Now, they whispered in dark rooms, afraid to speak too loudly. And everywhere, the human fleet moved like wind. It did not take thrones. It did not build castles. It freed the forgotten. On planet Voth, a secret base, this planet had been hidden for years, away from maps and trade routes. The Nigma used it for special missions, dark ones. This was where they trained their most dangerous soldiers. This was where they kept their deepest secrets. And this was where Lucas was heading. He stood in the dropship, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the window. The planet below was green and silent, but he remembered it differently. He remembered it burning. A flashback from the past. 10 years ago, Lucas knelt in the ashes of a small village. Flames still danced on the roofs. His mother's scarf lay in the dirt. His younger brother's toy was half buried near a broken wall. The sound of boots echoed through the smoke. Lucas turned and saw him. General Varen, one of the Nigma's cruelest commanders. Tall, sharp eyes, a cold face. He looked down at Lucas like he was trash. "Humans are soft," he had said. "No fire in them. Only tears." Then he ordered Lucas taken as a slave. And now, 10 years later, Lucas was coming back. Present day, the final meeting. The human ship landed outside the Nigma base on Voss. The doors opened. Lucas stepped out alone. No armor, no weapons, just the wind and memories. Inside the base, General Varen waited. He was older now. Slower. He sat on a metal chair, surrounded by guards. But even the guards looked unsure. "He's just one man," Varen said, though his voice was shaky. "Bring him in." Lucas entered the room. The guards moved back. Varen stood slowly. "So, the little human returns." Lucas didn't speak. Varen smiled. "Do you want revenge? Go ahead. Kill me." Lucas looked into the general's eyes. "I didn't come to kill you," he said. I came to ask you one question. Varen blinked. What? Lucas stepped closer. When you burned my village, he said softly, when you laughed at our screams, did you think we were really gone? Did you think the fire would erase us? Varen stared at him. Yes, I did. Lucas nodded. Then let me show you what survived the fire. He turned to the door. Outside, children from the freed colonies stood in rows. Not soldiers, not fighters. Just children, each holding a small white flower. Lucas pointed at them. They're the future you tried to kill, he said. And they will remember this moment. Varen said nothing. Lucas turned back to him. You don't deserve my anger, he said. You don't even deserve my hate. Varen clenched his fists. Then what do I deserve? Lucas whispered, to live long enough to see the Empire bleed. From the inside. Across the galaxy. Uprising. As Lucas walked out of the base, messages began to spread. Nigma soldiers were laying down their weapons. Rebels were marching into city squares. Slave races were taking back their homes. Even some Nigma citizens joined the movement. They were tired of war. Tired of pride. They had seen the truth. And truth is hard to unsee. Commander Ray sent a signal to Lucas. It's happening. They're breaking apart. Lucas responded, don't stop. Not yet. A choice for the galaxy. On every Nigma planet, the AI Ghost Protocol played one final message. This is your moment. Keep living by fear, or start living by memory. Remember the cost of cruelty. Remember the sound of silence. Remember the humans. In the sky above planet Voss, as Lucas returned to the ship, one child ran after him. A small alien girl with wide eyes. She held out her flower. Was Earth beautiful? She asked. Lucas looked down, heart heavy. Yes, he said softly. But now, you must build something even more beautiful. He took the flower and placed it gently in his coat. Then he turned to the stars. The Empire had blood. But hope was finally growing in the places it once ruled. The final stand. The stars above the galaxy were no longer silent. They carried a sound, a heartbeat, not from a human, not from a machine, but from something greater, a rising spirit, one that had been broken, buried, and forgotten. Now it was awake. Now it was strong. And the Empire knew it. On planet after planet, the Nigma were retreating. Their cities fell not with fire, but with freedom. Their thrones remained, but empty. Statues of past emperors lay crumbled on the ground. But the heart of the Empire, the final throne, still stood. It was here the Emperor hid, deep inside his sky fortress, floating above planet Voraxis. The fortress was a mountain made of steel, guarded by plasma fields and ancient weapons no one else dared to use. The humans had not attacked it yet, but they were coming. A dark council in a dying palace. The Emperor sat in silence. Around him, only a few commanders remained. Our systems are falling, one of them said. Our colonies are lost. Even the outer fleets have gone silent. The Emperor's eyes burned with pride and madness. Then we must do what they fear most, he said. We must become the fire again. You mean the Ember Protocol? One officer asked, shocked. It was forbidden, an ancient code written by the first Nigma rulers. If the Empire was ever close to collapse, this code would allow them to release their final weapon, planet burners. Missiles that would not just kill cities, but erase entire planets. Send the message, the Emperor said. Let the galaxy remember who we are. On board the human flagship, Lucas and Commander Ray watched the live feed. Their ships had captured a Nigma scout. The soldier inside was terrified, shaking, crying. He told them everything. They're going to use planet burners, he said. Your people, they don't understand. The Emperor will burn every world, even his own. Ray turned to Lucas. We need to strike now. Lucas nodded, but his eyes were full of something darker. something painful. It won't be easy, he said. We'll lose people. Ray replied, we already lost the past. Let's not lose the future. The final flight. Hundreds of human ships launched toward the Sky Fortress. They were met with fire. The last of the Nigma defense drones screamed through space, firing blue lasers that sliced through the black. One human ship exploded, then another. But they didn't stop. Lucas's ship was in front, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Ghost Protocol guided them, shutting down defenses from the inside. Keep pushing. Lucas shouted, we break in, no matter the cost. Inside the Sky Fortress, the Emperor walked toward the launch room. He wore dark armor. His eyes glowed with rage. The planet burner missiles stood ready, 5 of them. Each targeted a free world now ruled by former slaves. He raised his hand to give the launch command. Then the walls shook. The ceiling cracked. Human ships had broken through. Soldiers poured in. Lucas was the first to land. The Emperor turned, face twisted in hate. So, the insect finally arrives. Lucas walked slowly, wounded but steady. He had been burned in the last blast, but he didn't fall. It's over, he said. No, the Emperor growled. It ends with fire. Your fire, and mine. He pressed the button. But nothing happened. Ghost Protocol had already disabled it. The Emperor's face froze. Then his rage exploded. He charged forward with a blade in his hand, glowing red. Lucas blocked it with his arm, screaming in pain. The blade cut deep. Blood spilled. They fought, one for revenge, the other for memory. Finally, Lucas knocked the Emperor to the ground. Breathing hard, holding his wounded side, he stood over him. The Emperor whispered, go on. Kill me. Prove you're just like us. Lucas looked at him for a long time, then dropped the blade. No, he said. That's why you lost. You never understood mercy. Outside the fortress, the battle was won. Nigma drones fell from the sky. Human ships surrounded the fortress. No more missiles. No more threats. Commander Ray sent the signal. The final throne has fallen. Lucas collapsed in the hangar. He was weak, bleeding, fading. Ray rushed to his side. We did it, she whispered. Lucas smiled, eyes closing. Then it was worth it. A whisper across the stars. Ghost Protocol sent one last message across the galaxy. This war was not for power. It was not for land. It was for voice. And now, we speak again. On distant worlds, bells rang. Old songs played again. And a new banner was raised, made from the torn pieces of the Earth's flag, stitched by 1,000 hands from 1,000 worlds. We are not weak. The galaxy was quiet. Not the silence of fear. Not the silence of defeat. But the silence after a storm is past, when the dust settles, when hearts begin to beat again, when broken things are slowly put back together. The Nigma Empire was no more. The final throne had fallen. The Emperor was gone. The old flags had been torn down. The Sky Fortress, once a symbol of fear, now drifted like a ghost above the stars. Dark, silent, and empty. And deep inside its hangar, Lucas lay still, the hero who never called himself one. His wounds were deep, his breath was weak. Doctors worked fast. Machines hummed softly, trying to keep his heart alive. Commander Ray stood beside him, holding his hand. Don't leave yet, she whispered. The galaxy still needs your voice. Lucas didn't reply, but a small smile touched his lips. A new world, born from ashes. Weeks passed. Freed planets began to rebuild. Races that had been enemies now worked side by side. Nigma civilians, once filled with pride, now listened. They learned. They offered help, food, shelter, peace. Ghost Protocol, the human eye, no longer played warnings or battle cries. Now, it taught history. It showed old Earth stories. paintings of trees, rivers, children playing in sunlight. It showed love, art, music, dreams. A galaxy that had only known war now learned what life could be. Lucas wakes. One morning, in a healing chamber, Lucas opened his eyes. Sunlight filtered through the window. A warm breeze touched his face. He was alive. Commander Ray sat nearby, asleep in a chair. When she woke and saw him, her eyes filled with tears. "You came back," she said, smiling. Lucas whispered, "So did the world." A gathering like never before. A grand meeting was called on planet Nova, a neutral world where no flags flew. Leaders from every race arrived. Soldiers, scientists, builders, children. They came not for war, but for one thing only: a new beginning. A new alliance, not ruled by force, but by memory, respect, and shared pain. Lucas walked onto the stage. His steps were slow. His body was still healing. But when he stood before the crowd, all eyes were on him. No one spoke. Then he began. "You called us weak. We were. We cried. We broke. We lost everything. But we remembered, and that memory became fire. That fire became light. And that light brought us here." He looked at the stars above. "This galaxy was never yours or mine. It belongs to those brave enough to believe in peace." The crowd was silent. Then the clapping began. Slow, steady, rising. Then cheers. Voices from every world, every language, every color. They were no longer strangers. They were survivors. A child steps forward. After the speech, a small girl walked up to Lucas. She wasn't human. Her skin was blue, with glowing eyes. Her clothes were patched and simple. She looked up at him and said, "I want to be human when I grow up." Lucas bent down slowly, surprised. "Why?" he asked gently. She smiled. "Because humans never give up. Even when they lose everything, they still fight. Not to destroy, but to save." Lucas's throat tightened. He touched her shoulder softly. "Then you already are." Legacy of a whisper. Ghost Protocol did not shut down. Instead, it became something new, a guardian of memory, a bridge between old worlds and new hopes. It taught future generations not how to win wars, but how to avoid them. The human flag was not raised to claim land. It was painted on walls, stitched into books, carved into hearts, always as a reminder of what was lost and what was found. In a quiet garden, years later, Lucas sat under a tree. He was older now, slower. His beard had grown. His body carried scars, but his eyes were full of peace. He watched children from many worlds running and playing together. No borders, no chains, no empires, just laughter. Commander Ray sat beside him. "Do you think they'll forget one day?" she asked. Lucas shook his head slowly. "No," he said, "because we didn't die as warriors. We lived as a whisper. And sometimes, a whisper can change the whole sky."